gripping 6 days of debating and witnessing a battle of minds and wits, Debatables 2.0 has come to its final day. We saw some interesting motions being put forth and witnessed exceptional skills from all participating teams. The competition has now boiled down to just two teams, and one of them will be our winner tonight. First up, I would like to congratulate the two teams who have made it to the finals today. May the best team win. So now I hope the format for finals is clear to you all. I'll just go it very quickly. First up, we'll have the first speaker from the proposition, followed by the first speaker from the opposition. Both these speeches will be of 5 minutes each. This will be followed by a rebuttal round, which will be 8 minutes long, after which we'll have the second speaker from the proposition, followed by the second speaker from the opposition. Again, these will be of 5 minutes each. Speakers, please note that you will have 5 minutes to put your arguments forward, after which you'll get exactly 15 seconds to wrap up your entire speech. Anything you say after this will not be considered by the chair. Lastly, we'll have the concluding speech from both the proposition as well as the opposition, starting with the proposition. Both these speeches will be of 3 minutes each. Alright, on that note, I hope the format is clear. I would like the speakers to introduce themselves. First speaker from the proposition, can you please introduce yourself?
Hello everyone, I'm Simran Sunghani. I'm first year computer engineering student at KJSI and I will be the first speaker of proposition.
Thank you, speaker. Second speaker from the proposition, can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, good evening, everyone. This is Jignesh Rajgor. I'm a second year SimSci student. I am, and I'll be speaking in proposition of the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, speaker. Can the first speaker from the opposition please introduce themselves?
Yeah, hi guys, my name is Jeet Savardekar. I am a second year student of computer engineering at KJSC and I'll be the first speaker of the opposition.
Thank you, speaker. Can the second speaker from the opposition please introduce themselves?
Hello everyone, I'm Shreyam Bora. I'm also a second year student at KJSC and I'm the second speaker for the opposition.
All right. Thank you, speakers. I have shared the timer on Discord so that it's convenient for everybody. Please join the live stream. All right. Now I would like to call the first speaker from the proposition to open the debate. Speaker, please let me know when you're ready. I'll start the timer.
Yeah, I'm ready.
3, 2, 1.
Good evening everyone. I'm the first speaker of proposition. I'm going to speak for the motion. This house believes that government should offer cash compensation for the creation of pharmaceuticals to replace the patent system for pharmaceuticals. Pharmaceutical industry today is not the business of selling medicines. It is a business of selling patents. Pharma companies invest a lot of money in research and development, and patent system was supposed to be a system which would help companies recover costs by giving them exclusive ownership over manufacturing, distribution, and sale of the medicines that they would invent. What happens in practice is that pharma companies use these patents not only to cover cost of research and development but in turn create a monopolistic market. What happens today is that companies sell the rights, manufacture their medicines, and claim royalty over the product as well. This in turn increases the price of medicines. The worst effect of patent system came about during the pandemic, where in a country like India, where we have more than 3,000 drug companies, only two were manufacturing the vaccines. Imagine how well our pandemic response could have been if we could have used all our might. This is not only increase the plight of people but give immense power in the hands of big pharma as they control the supply of vaccines in the time of crisis. I would like to also mention the example of Pfizer, where Pfizer basically uh, they did not take the responsibility over the deaths of the people. They were they were having unrealistic expectations that delays would be allowed. Also, they they also Also, they had their insurance companies, so they made sure that we buy the insurance is taken from their companies. So I feel that cash compensation is the better way to deal with these situations, and system should be removed. Thank you.
Thank you, speaker. Now I would like the first speaker from the opposition to put their case forward. Speaker, please let me know when you're ready. I'll start the timer.
Yeah, I'm ready.
3, 2, 1.
To start off my speech and the opposition of the motion, let us first understand what the patent system actually does. What the patent system does is that it places a premium on innovation, right? If the patent system did not exist, companies would not have any impetus, not have any reason to invest in R&D on a large scale. If the patent system did not exist and instead, according to motion, this cash price system is introduced, why would big companies like Pfizer or as they mentioned Pfizer or Abbott, why would they invest heavily in R&D? They would continue rolling off their general products, and then one day they are going to find another idea from another company, then they are going to start rolling off that products too. But the patent system places a premium on this R&D, and that is why it exists, and it has existed for such a long time. The proposition mentioned creation of monopolies. Creation of monopolies, it is a feature of of the business world. Okay, these pharmaceutical companies are thriving for a reason. They have been good at their job for so many years, and their job, apart from making medicine, has been to make a profit. But it is not like a formula once developed by one company stays with that company. There is already a system in place so that other companies can make use of it. It is called licensing. The patent law, intellectual property law, licensing exist only so that other companies can pay that particular company a certain amount and start manufacturing on their own, right? And this system has continued successfully over years and years. One point was brought up by the proposition about, that only two companies in India were able to license the deal, were able to license a vaccine from, AstraZeneca or Pfizer. That is the point, right? Today, if any company would have been able to make it, do you think it would have been a good decision? Don't you think you are going for quantity over quality here, right? Because there are very few companies in the world who are able to, secure these licensing deals because they have the manufacturing capability to do it, because they have the systems in place to actually do it. The patent system which exists today, the status quo which exists, it has created a very effective system wherein a premium is placed upon research and development, and companies which do have the capability to manufacture are able to manufacture it. Now, let us talk about what is talked about in the motion, the cash price system, which would be a completely ineffective way to handle intellectual property in pharmaceutical industry. Cash price is indefinite. Okay, I'll give you an example. Here it says the government will give a cash prize. Firstly, different governments have different capabilities to give money. So a company from, say, a poorer country, a company which is from a country like Bangladesh comes up with a vaccine. Who is going to pay them? Which government? The government of USA, the government of India, the government of Bangladesh. That is not mentioned anywhere, and it does not seem to be a logical way to go about it. The present system would allow them to directly make a deal with a larger company and license out their patent for them to those companies in larger countries for a large amount of money. Secondly, the profits that can be made through these patents are humongous. Proposition rightly mentioned that along with dealing medicines, pharmaceutical companies are dealing in patents nowadays. And there's a reason for it. Because in the end, these companies have to make money. And that is the money that they make allow them to create more and more innovations, R&D and medicine, which help the world. Cash price is not going to suffice what patents get these companies. Okay. And once I don't think, like, I'm not just throwing a number here, but I don't think cash prices are going to be even will be able to even give 1/4 of what a patent can give a company. So yes, this is the reason why this cash price system instead of the patent system is a very ineffective idea, and we should not try to fix what ain't broke. And the patent system is doing patent system has been in place for a long amount of time for a reason, and it should continue to be so. Thank you very much. I rest my case.
Now, with that done, thank you so much, speaker. We'll move on to the rebuttal rounds. This will be of 8 minutes long and it starts with a question from the opposition. Proposition will take it up and they'll ask another question in turn. No cross questioning, cross talk, or follow up questions will be allowed. If you feel that your question wasn't addressed satisfactorily at any point during the debate, that will be taken care by the chair in their verdict. Also, please keep your questions short and to the point. I'll just set the timer.
All right. I have a question. If we can begin.
3, 2, 1.
Yeah. So essentially, as mentioned by my partner, the patent system guarantees exclusivity to the person who has actually come up with the product, right? So when you give someone a cash prize, how does the government propose that the person who has actually made the product or the company who has made the product and spend those hours into it gets the right amount of credit and someone else does not steal the credit for it? How does the government bench ensure that?
I'll take this one. Okay, so this is not just to clear. This is not random allotment of prize money, just based on the understanding of the disease. Let's say, for example, that is being treated or being researched upon. There is a framework under which, let's say, certain medicine, the impact of certain medicine is being understood. There is a certain way in which we can try and understand what is the severity of it, what is if there are any. So each research can be classified into different categories based on, like, if it's a research which is very niche and there isn't any subsidiary data available to support that research, or it is a research that is just add on to something which was already existing in the market. So depending on what kind of research it is, the incentives are supposed to be given. Today what happens is, even if I'm making a slightest of upgrade, right, even if my input in that upgrade isn't much, but I can patent it as a separate drug, and slightest of modifications can get patented as a separate drug and get misused. So that can be avoided if cash system is brought in place, wherein the right amount of pricing will be put on to the efforts that are put in, instead of pharma companies just patenting it as an intellectual property for the slightest of change. So my question to the opposition is, when you say it is not profitable, cash price is not profitable, don't you think if the purpose of patent is the purpose of patent should not be profit, right? Efficiency in manufacturing should lead to your profit. What if you make purpose of patent as your profit? Don't you think, especially as we gave in the example of COVID, lives are being lost just because some companies want to hold on to patents to make sure that they hold the monopoly over it? Don't you think profiting over patents is wrong, and profit should be made over manufacturing and selling the medicines?
I completely disagree with that. As I said, patents place a premium on innovation, on research and development. So when a company profits through patents, they have the impetus to put more money into R&D, and which produces medicines which will eventually benefit the world. This cash price thing is going to place a cap on the profit that a company is going to make. It's going to take away the autonomy of the company to, decide how much they are going to price their own research and development, for which they spend a lot of money. So no, I think the profiting of patents is not a wrong thing. It is actually giving us more and more innovations in the medical world. Yeah, thank you. Right. So I would like to ask a question. This cash price system, right? how would it protect smaller companies? Today a small company can have a great product and license it under the patent system to other companies and make a lot of money, and then they can manufacture it. This cash price system, they will be given a cash price which, as I have already said, is very unlikely to give them as much profit as a good patent, and it will then be completely exploited by by bigger companies, and this company would not be able to make a profit out of their own idea. So how would the government bench try to rectify that?
Thank you for highlighting the small companies. In fact, this system is meant to help the smaller companies. If you are a company who cannot invest a lot in today's world, if you are a company, if you want to start a pharma company, you cannot. Just by having the means to produce something, you cannot start as someone who is who knows how to manufacture, because you just won't have to manufacture the medicines. You'll also have to pay the royalty to the people uh, who have sort of invented that thing, and in practice those royalties are of extravagant amounts. So what you are saying, the patent system is actually putting a bar on people who want to start manufacturing, on the smaller companies who have manufacturing prowess but are still not able to do it because they don't have the money to fill the pockets of the big pharma. What cash price system does is, it's a twofold thing. It not only provides people money, provides the inventors money, but it also opens the right to manufacture to even smaller companies. So when a big pharma company invents something, it not only receives the compensation, which can also indirectly act as a fuel for innovation, but it also opens up the patent, or opens up the formula to other smaller companies who can then pick that up and manufacture it and earn their profits. Uh, my question is, when you say it helps innovation, but don't you think that is just an excuse that this big pharma companies use to earn extravagant amounts of profit? Because when we see in reality, what happens is there is very little innovation happening and more of repeatability and smaller tweaks in formula that happens, and they keep misusing this patent system to reproduce those drugs, and especially the critical drugs, the drugs like Alzheimer's, which are direly required in the society, are highly patented with very small tweaks, because they know that patent system, if I make a small tweak, I can patent it, and I can get extravagant amounts from patent itself. Don't you think that this is counterproductive? Just by creating a patent, they know that I can create a patent, I need not invest that much in R&D, I can still call it an innovation. So your argument that it helps innovation, actually it is counterproductive, don't you think so?
Okay, so I'll just first mention that essentially when you talk about patents, what they are providing to these companies and to the people is, like Jeet said, a premium on innovation, and it also promises exclusivity, right? When you make a product, even if you make certain changes to the product, to an existing product, you have made something of your own. And when you talk about patents, it is providing you that exclusive thing. Now, essentially, if you have patents for medicines like for Alzheimer's. See, now these are drugs which is already present, and if people do make certain changes or do make tweaks to an existing drug, it's to make that existing drug better or improved in some way or the other. So essentially, people are just more inclined to work towards improving existing medical medicines to make it a better way because they are promised that exclusivity which they would get only from a patent. If they are given a cash price via the tweaks which they are making, they won't be having enough incentive to actually go for making the product. So yeah.
Thank you, speakers. Now, after the rebuttal rounds, I would like to invite the second speaker from Proposition to put their case forward. Speaker, please let me know when you're ready. I'll start the timer.
I'm ready.
3, 2, 1.
Right. So what we've seen so far from opposition, we've made our case apparent that patent have been practically being misused, in especially in the direst of scenarios where society needs them most. Big pharma have only been exploiting the society in the name of patents. In defense, what opposition says is that it helps innovation but I'm sorry to say, what we have seen so far in the world, it it fills more pockets of big pharma, makes them more rich and powerful than giving us more innovation. When you know that slightest of tweaks are going to help me lock in another formula and sell another formula for billions of dollars, that's an easy money. Anybody would prefer easy money over actually spending more in R&D, right? So yes, in theory it sounds merry, it all sounds good that it fuels innovation, but I'm sorry to say it's just another excuse that pharma industry gives to keep this notion alive of patent system. uh, another point on licensing. Again, licensing is something that kills the business for smaller companies. Smaller companies are never able to invest themselves in R&D because earning profits is very difficult for them. They just don't have to make sure that they uphold the high standards in manufacturing, which in itself is difficult, but also whatever they have to cut away a lot of their profits by giving royalty money to the big pharma, right? So this idea of licensing is only again profiting the only wealthy 1% of the pharma industry. Speaking about opposition rebutted quality over quantity uh, in terms of manufacturing during pandemic. I'm sorry to say, all that was required of, and there were companies, and I'm not sure if you have followed. India has been raising this time and again in the international forums that there are companies who have certifications available that say that they do have the capabilities to manufacture the same quality of drugs, but again those were withheld only under the garb saying that no, patent system is sacred and it cannot be touched, and patents cannot be released. The entire idea was that it fuels innovation, but what they really wanted to do was control the supply in the world where there is mad demand for a vaccine. Again, we have seen as an example that quantity over quality, it fuels innovation. With proof, we have seen that these people are only using these excuses to make sure that they hold on to the patent system that is only filling their pockets and making them richer at the expense of smaller players in the business. Cash price being indefinite, I'm sorry, but that is a very restrained understanding of what the cash price system does. It, as a motion says, it is government, but of course it applies to the bodies of government collective. As so, patent system does not only work. There isn't just patent system in India, or there isn't just patent system in America. There are global institutions where you can register your patents. There can be government bodies where you can get cash price from if you want to distribute it at a global scale. So of course, when we are talking at a unit scale, but this entire argument can be expanded and can be broadened on a global level as well, where government bodies internationally can be formed to make sure that players across the globe are being equally compensated. Again, we would like to say that patent system has brought all of this down to profit, making the smaller companies stay smaller companies while filling. We have a concept of big pharma today. Few big companies around the world. The concept itself is scary. The concept itself that Pfizer can go ahead and ask Brazilian governments to surrender their military bases as an insurance policy, that itself is scary. And this comes only because there is patent system. There is inequity in the market. A smaller player does not get its fair share of manufacturing capabilities only because bigger companies do smaller tweaks in their formula and go ahead and claim it as an intellectual property, go ahead and exploit it. Cash compensation is going to bring that equity in the market, equality in the market, where each and every player will be on a level playing field, and exactly what innovation needs fuel, that exactly is going to get provided by the cash. That's our case. Thank you.
Thank you, speaker. Now I would like to call the second speaker from opposition to put their case forward. Speaker, please let me know when you're ready. I'll start the timer.
Just give me 2 seconds.
All right.
Right, I'll start in 3, 2, 1. All right, so coming to the arguments which was presented by the proposition and even my side, essentially something which is clear from this motion that it talks about breaking down a system. It talks about breaking down a system which has existed to firstly benefit pharmaceutical companies, benefit people who have actually worked for the pharmaceutical companies, benefit the people who have spent the time in research and development, and at the end benefit the people who are going to use the products which are made by the pharmaceutical companies. Yes, this is exactly the patent system which I'm talking about, because essentially at the core and at the crux of the patent system encourages this. When we talk about patents, right, as my partner has mentioned time and again, it places a premium on innovation. If I'm, say, a researcher at a pharmaceutical company, I'll only be willing to spend my time in that specific researching a specific product if I know that at the end, when I have actually developed something, even if I'm tweaking an existing product, as the proposition would like to say, even if I'm tweaking a product, the end result which I get is a product which firstly benefits the people, and at the end I get recognition for that. And if you bring a cash prize into this, these people won't be getting that recognition at all. Now, already they talked about how people benefit from how the licensing system is not fair, right? But essentially, if you talk, see what the motion talks about and what the licensing system does is one and the same. And so far in the past so many years since licensing was actually brought, even smaller companies actually have the capability to buy the license of the product which was made and then sell it and make money from their own, even if it's not their product. Now, even there was a point brought up about how the government don't know how much money. So, firstly, how even if you say you have a government body or you have a governmental organization who is specifically in charge of this, more often than not, these bodies would have people who actually don't have idea about the pharmaceutical world at all. Like they might have a slight idea, but the in-depth knowledge which is required to actually know about it, which is actually done while you patent a company or patent a product, most of these governmental bodies won't have this. So what this results in, they won't know the value of the product whenever it comes in front of them. If say a company spends X amount of money in developing the product, but the government organization is not aware at all about how much money and time was spent, they might just end up undervaluing the product, which leads to the company facing a loss. On the other hand, when you have patents and licensing, once the company patents the product and the license, they're free to, they firstly will be getting back all the money which they have already spent via the patent and the money which they will make. And furthermore, the licensing does allow them to make a profit, because at the end of the day, like my partner mentioned, it's a business world and you will be having monopolistic regimes there itself. Uh, Now, obviously, we do understand that the patent system has loopholes and has certain flaws, but it doesn't make sense to see when you talk about such a system. Every system has loopholes and certain flaws, but more or less, the system has worked so far in the sense it has allowed people to actually go ahead, create new products, innovate, and at the same time has allowed for the creation of new products to come into the market, which has benefited us, the normal people. What essentially needs to be done is, firstly, we need to understand that patents, whenever you give a patent to a company, they consider all the manufacturing qualities, what the company has to do. Can the company manufacture in a large scale? Does the company actually have the capability to transport the goods? Is the patent actually there, or is it an actual product which is already existing? All this is done prior to them actually getting a patent. And essentially, what is done once you have patent is all the companies are brought into a level ground, as the proposition rightly mentioned. But in the level ground, in the sense, everyone gets a chance to use this new goods which is made, and everyone gets a chance to make a certain profit or use the product to a certain extent. As I said, there are loopholes and there are certain flaws existing already. And what essentially needs to be done in this point is make the laws which are already existing, make the framework which is existing more strict, which ensures that people don't make false profits. And at the end of the day, the framework which exists becomes much stronger than what it is right now. With that, I rest my case. Thank you so much.
Thank you, speakers. Now we'll be moving on with the concluding statements, starting with the proposition. Please note that you're not allowed to bring in any new arguments here. Proposition, please let me know when you're ready. I'll start the timer.
I'm ready.
3, 2, 1.
Yeah. So, in conclusion, what we would like to say is, as opposition says, it has benefited a lot of people. We agree, but we don't agree with a lot part of that statement. It has only benefited a few people at the cost of a lot of people who have literally lost their lives. And those loss can be attributed directly to the patent system. Cash prize not be giving enough recognition. The argument that cash prize won't give enough recognition to people is just an hollow assumption, right? There is no basis to that argument, because the idea is monetary compensation to fuel the innovation. The argument that patents give monetary compensation for fueling innovation, that is exactly what cash prize is doing. What it is additionally doing is taking away the right from big pharma to exploit those patents by giving away the ability to manufacture those exact medicines to other players as well. So, and licensing again is a sin in the business that has been filling people's pockets, and and has been curbing smaller businesses to innovate. That so Considering all these points, and especially if again, when the proposition says there should be stricter rules, well, when you are talking about industry where players can demand foreign basis from a federal government as a mortgage, I don't think so. We should be even in the assumption that the stricter rules are going to curb anything. It is really just another way of diverting the argument. You know what? Let's why not we just bring in stricter rules and then work with it. That's not it works practically, right? These companies are way too powerful to follow stricter rules. They have their lobbies to successfully evade all of that. So, in conclusion, what we would like to say is, I think this is high time that we start making excuses for a patent system in the name of innovation. It's high time we recognize the flaws these things have done. It is high time we've seen a pandemic, we've lost lives. It's high time we look at these things and question where all of this is going wrong. And we all can trace back to the patent system. And what is one thing that they are asking for? Compensation. Yes, let's give them compensation. Let's give them compensation for the money, for the hard work they have done. And let's open up the market for everybody else. You know what that system is called? It's called the cash compensation system that we've been promoting in this debate. So, with that, I would like to rest my case, and I hope we've done justice to the argument. Thank you.
Thank you, speaker. Now I would like to call the opposition to put forth their concluding statements. Opposition, please let me know when you're ready. I'll start the time.
Yeah, we're ready.
3, 2, 1.
The the proposition brought up the case of how Pfizer basically, threat like what's the word? Pfizer basically used insurance of military bases from the Brazilian government, right? This is a very extreme case. This usually doesn't happen, and it has been quoted again and again. And I will tell you how to counter cases like this. Any system, including the patent law system, has a lot of loopholes, right? And these loopholes are gradually, time and time again, exploited by companies. The solution to this is not to completely abolish the system and bring in an inefficient system controlled by government bodies, which already have a lot of rampant corruption within them. The way to solve this is to maybe keep updating the patent system and make changes so that it becomes more fair for everybody. But as we have continuously made a case for why the patent system is the best way, has been the best way, and will continue to be the best way, I would like to summarize the points that we have made. Right, the patent system, we keep saying this again and again, is what is making these companies invest in R&D. You keep saying about the opposition, the proposition keeps talking about big pharma companies, big pharma companies. These big pharma companies sadly are the ones at this moment producing the drugs which are consumed the most in the world. They are the ones which are at this moment producing drugs for diseases which are afflicting people all throughout the world, and taking the patent system away from them, taking a very important source of their income away from them, and giving them a cash price system is going to take away their impetus for R&D, and this would have disastrous effects for the world. The patent system, you say, is unfair and it has claimed lives, but if we take away the premium on innovation, then these people, the big pharma companies, are going to stop, because yes, they do care only about profit, and patents are the best way to get them profit and keep making them invest in R&D. Another point that I would like to counter is that they said that this cash price system will be good for smaller companies. The patent law and licensing system, there is a very important part in that called manufacturing capability, right? When a big company licenses to a small company, they only license it when they do a good due diligence. There's a process called due diligence, wherein they completely evaluate whether this company can actually do the manufacturing, whether they can actually get their product, the formula out to market or not. So this cash price system would completely take away the ability of companies to evaluate this, and anybody would be doing anything, anybody would be doing any sort of modifications. And sometimes there are products which are marketed falsely, and that can also happen through this cash system. The patent system is the best way to go ahead with intellectual property in the medical world. Thank you. Veeresh Rakesh.
Thank you, speaker. Now, with that concluding speech, we've come to the end of this debate. Chairs, would you like to take some time before you give the verdict?
Right, yeah, I'll just take a couple of minutes.
All right.
Yeah, same on my end. We can join, I think, room 2 and then discuss a bit before coming back.
There's an adjudicator only channel, Kaushik and Shubham. We can go there.
Yeah, it's not visible to me.
Rohan, stand by.
Aman, could you just shift them to the Adj only channel, please?
Yes, y'all can
Just
go
give
ahead
me
with
a
it.
go ahead when you are.
Yeah, y'all can go
Great.
ahead.
So after what was a very engaging and exciting round between two sides, I think we had an entire fun-filled moment within this debate metric, and then it's now time for the oral adjudication. I'll be declaring the verdict, and then I'll hand over to Shubham, who will be explaining the nuances of what the case was before us. So on a unanimous call, the opposition took this debate. I think then Shubham can explain the specifics as to how and where, and then also give you some general feedback. Shubham, over to you.
Thank you, Kaushik. Right. So, guys, just before I begin with the exact specifics of the debate, a few general comments. There were still a lot of assertions made in the debate without any kind of structuring or mechanization. I felt to a large extent there were a lot of blanket statements on either sides. Now, in such cases where there are blanket statements on both sides, it comes down to the technicality of the gov having the burden to prove things, right? If the gov says that what there will be a level playing field, and if ops says that what this there won't be any level playing field because cash prices just won't work, I think Gov will be penalized more because it was Gov's burden to prove how this would be a level playing field, right? So there were many such clashes in the debate in which we felt that Gov could have characterized a lot of things better so that Op wouldn't have tackled it. But I think Op did a fantastic job in like picking up all these loopholes and voids within the Gov's case, and they took that. Uh, a few more overall things. I think uh, right. So a general overview of ops case. Ops case is a very classic case of the car analogy. Basically, like just because accidents happen, you can't ban cars, right? Cars will still exist. You just need to fix the rules and roads regulation, blah blah blah. That's basically ops case, right? That there are problems with the system, but changing the system is not the solution. Uh, so coming to the specifics of the debate, I think the props first case, the gov bench's first case was more about how it's become a business of patents and there's a monopolistic market, and there is this whole kind of hegemonized systems which exist within status quo. The response from op is very simple, that even if there is monopoly and even if there is a hegemonized system, two responses from op. One, that it's a business and you have monopoly anyways. I think a better way to have said this is, but I've been quoting examples like Amazon, Facebook, or other industries who have monopoly in their markets. But the second response is that even if there are cash prizes, again it's just the highest bidder who's more likely to go ahead and pay this cash price, and the monopoly still exists symmetrically on both sides of the house. So the claims coming from prop speech one, all of them I think are sufficiently taken care by the op. The proposition also makes a few more claims, such as the pandemic response would have been better if there was no patent system. Again, if you're making such a huge claim, that if you genuinely think that lives could have been saved, if you genuinely think that patent system was the sole reason due to which we lost so many lives in the pandemic, and if you genuinely think that if patents didn't exist, we would have like 100 vaccines and like better vaccines or anything of that sort, you have to characterize it. You can't just leave it up to the assumption of the edges. You need to elaborate and elucidate a bit more on as to how the pandemic response would have been better, how more lives would have been saved, right? So in terms of the first speeches, yeah, a few arguments coming from op is that there's a premium on the R&D, there's an incentive to research and development, licensing exists, and quality over quantity and things of that sort. So I think comparing the first constructive cases from both, I think op clearly takes it. During the rebuttal round, I think we all unanimously felt that the questions coming from prop side were really amazing. However, I think the responses by both prop and op were kind of neutralized there. So still, if I had to give it to someone, I think the rebuttal round, the proposition takes it. Coming to the final, the conclusion speeches as well as the second constructive cases from both prop and op. Prop says that small companies will never profit on the ops world because it's always the systems are always hegemonized and the money is always going into the top 1%. However, you're still again in that you know loop. You still did not tell me exactly why that's a problem, right? If the top 1% is doing a good job in making good vaccines and good drugs, why is it a problem that they should have all the money, right? Amazon is a top 1% in e-commerce. They have a great product, they do great delivery, and they have a pretty monopolized structure. Why is that a bad thing, right? So you need to show me the parallel between that, what the responsibility of the pharma industry is at large but moreover, like what is the role of human life, and like the difference in rules of e-commerce versus rules of pharma, right? So I think you could have elucidated that more. I did not get that. You also tell me a few other things about how Brazil exploited it. Again, great example, but do not rely on one extreme example on either side to win a case, right? Because if you can state an example on this side, they will state an example on that side. It's just going to get neutralized. uh, Other than that, your last constructive argument from prop is about a level playing field. I felt this could have been mechanized more, because you don't necessarily tell me that just because there's a cash prize now, how will the smaller players in the market suddenly, by the incentive of a cash prize, now gain much more better manufacturing capabilities, much more better workforce, much more better human resources and facilities, and so many other things, right? The smaller players are not becoming rich on your side of the house. They're still the smaller players, right? And the further attack you get from op is that what, these smaller players now will never even have a chance of making that big ticket money off a patent, right? Because now the smaller players will just get that one time cash prize, and that's that, right? So I think the ops case is extremely mitigatory. They talk about a lot of other things, like they tell me that cash prizes are not prop made this claim that cash prizes do exactly what patents do, and there's a similar motivation and incentives. Op refuses. Op says this is not what the case is. And the final clash in the debate was about whether companies would follow these kind of changes or new rules and regulations and all that. Props case again is cynical on that. They just say that what, these big companies have lobbying power or bargaining chips and etc etc, so they are much more likely to be corrupt. Again, that's a very hard line of debating. I think you should have met op at the middle ground and tried to showcase something a bit more debatable. You can't just claim that every company is corrupt, or every company is hyper capitalistic, or every company is XYZ. At that point in time, I think opposition satisfactorily makes their claims, but more importantly tackles all the claims from prop. I hope with that I'd like to end my OA. Any questions from proposition?
None whatsoever. Thank you. That was good.
Thank you. Any questions from opposition?
None.
None
Thank
from
you.
our side. Thank
Right.
you.
Seeing no questions, I am assuming you agree with my verdict. Thank you for the debate. All the best.
That was a great debate, especially for a day like the finals. Congratulations to the winners of Debatables 2.0, Jeet and Shreyam. You have deserved this after all. Lastly, thank you, speakers. Thank you, Chair, for joining us today. Have a great night.
Thank you. Hey, congrats, Jeet, Shreyam.
Thank you so much,
Fantastic job.
Thank you,
Thanks.
guys. Great
Thanks,
debate.
everyone.
Thank you so much.
It was fun. Yeah.
Congratulations.
guys. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
This was an amazing final. Yeah.
Yeah. Likewise.
Bye.
Bye.
Rohan, end stream.